morning. Yay, happy Friday. My bell, I do. That was dangerous, who put that there? All right, good morning and welcome to our breakfast, or business before hours. This, I believe, is the first in-person in well over a year, am I correct? Correct. So exciting to be in person. My name is Michelle Hernandez. I think I will be your host today. I am the manager of the Hebo Cultural Center and Natural History Preserve, and I'm currently serving as the chair of the Marysville Tulalip Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. So thank you all for being here. We have a couple of board members with us today. When your name is called, and when I say a couple, I mean two, please stand and wave. Ken Kettler and to the lovely Christina, thank you for hosting us, and Todd Fallman, Realty for we are going to now introduce our breakfast sponsor. Today's business before hours sponsor is Edward Jones, Lance Curry. Lance Curry will be presenting. Will you please all help me welcome Lance to the stage?
Thank you. Hey, congratulations, Michelle. You lead a fine organization. And so I hate to take this off, right? Pretend I'm eating? Okay, I can do that. Hey, you know, who wants to just get up on a Friday morning and talk about the market? Do I, did I get slides? Did I get slides? No slides. All right, so you're all going to use your imagination. Try to imagine graphs and lines of numbers. Okay, that's where we're going to go. No, I'm just kidding. But it is that bad. The presentation that Edward Jones gave me today is called Markets Today, and it's really kind of looking back at first quarter that just came through, kind of last year we just came through, and where we think things are going next. Does anybody care about that on Friday morning? Okay, you do? Okay. Well, I made it really quick. You'll see, though, I put on your table 2 copies of what's called a risk tolerance questionnaire. And I thought maybe if we just breeze through this required speech, then we could get to that. And that's kind of fun, so don't spoil my thunder there yet. So, what's on the agenda? I'm going to skip that page because you don't know I have that slide. If you were to imagine on the screen behind me a series of graphs showing fixed income and equities sectors, how they performed in the last 12 months, and how they performed in the last quarter, would you care? No. All right, so let me just tell you, it talks about corporate earnings. In the first quarter, we've got rosier expectations. They sent equities higher. Who knows what equities are, anyway? Nobody. Good, that's what I thought. I'm telling you, I could read this and really bore you. Oh, I got slides. Holy smokes. Rats. Don't even, there it is. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. Gorgeous. Love it. It's like pictures. This is so awesome. So yeah, but you know, you see the yellow, and that points back to the year ending in March. End of March, right? Pretty amazing. I mean, if you actually went back on your 401k and you calculated where you were a year ago in that thing, end of March last year, to where you are now, you'd be pretty impressed. So most of us get our 401k statement and it shows what we made in 2020. Yeah, okay, they already did that, okay, yeah, so what? But if you actually do this in a 12-month window from March to March, it's going to stun you, I promise. If you go back to your office, your work, or you're home tonight, and you do the calculation on that, it'll stun you. Because some of you, in that time frame, on some of your investments, probably made more than 70%. I'm not kidding. It really did that. This graph doesn't show that, but all right. We had corporate earnings accelerated. We had accelerated vaccine distribution. And we also just had the Fed revise their growth estimates, GDP growth, up to 6.5%. So it was 4.2. They revised it up quite a bit, right? That's a third revision up after the first quarter of this year. That's the strongest raise by the Fed in more than 30 years. That's where we're at right now. That's where we're at. We're actually in a position, I guess what I'm trying to say is we're in a position right now where the outlook is rosier than most people realize. Mic drop. All right, next slide. Why? Well, we believe stock market performance over the last 12 months, I just told you, S&P 500 from March to March, about 70% increase. Bang. But I also get to say past performance is not a guarantee of how the market will perform in the future. That's a required little statement. But we believe there's three primary factors that have been in the driver's seat for that. What does this slide show? Federal debt. That's one of them. Number one, the vaccine, right? The vaccine has given people the ability, the hope to spend money. Okay? Businesses can reopen, right? The vaccine has given us that ability to do that. Number two, probably also understanding of how this coronavirus works too. Number two, monetary policy stimulus, and that's what we're looking at here. So, well, partially, but monetary policy by the Fed, that's where they control these short-term interest rates, right? They control short-term interest rate. They do a few other things like purchasing securities from the public market, like bonds. Anyway, that short-term interest rates are what determine how your business can function, right? That short-term interest rate is either going to allow your business that you work for or that you own to grow or contract. That short-term interest rate really controls quite a bit, so I'll just throw that out there. And then the last thing, so vaccine, monetary policy, and then the last thing, fiscal aid, right? We all know how to say free money, right? Fiscal aid. So you can see that fiscal aid, free money, comes from somewhere, and it's in the form of debt. So our country borrows to do things, to give out free checks to help businesses with PPP loans, things like that. But I think this is interesting. In World War II, as a percentage of GDP, our debt was right around 100% of GDP. So that might not seem like a big number, but you can see it compared to other things. The debt of the U.S., well, the U.S. government, was around 100% of what the entire produce of the country was at that time. Do you see where we're at now? Just about the same spot. Last time I checked, it wasn't because of a world war. So I think that a lot of money has been spent. Probably it looks like there's going to be a lot more money to be spent somehow. But right now we're at about 100% of GDP. Crazy. But let's build on that. Next slide. Oh, this is a really horrible slide. The theme of this slide is just to help you to understand that we've had a bull market where last March we hit the low, and the stocks and things, business has come back since last March quite a bit. We call that a bull market, you know? It's bull. It's attacking up. That's what a bull does. A bull and a bear? A bull attacks up with the horns, and a bear attacks down. All right, now you know. So we call that a bull market. We don't expect another 12 months of the previous 12 months, right? So if you have your S&P 500 fund in your 401k, and it did over 70% in the last 12 months, okay, we probably won't see another 70% in the next 12 months. Okay, next slide. That's all that they wanted me to tell you about that. But I do want you to know, every year since 1985, stocks have dropped an average of about 14% in a calendar year. So we're feeling good about things, but you have to keep your eyes on the fact that it's going to catch you by surprise. It always catches everybody emotionally by surprise. So we have something called a dip, a drop of about 5% of my 401k value, right? A dip, that's that yellow bar. How often does that happen? Any brave people want to interpret the number there for me? How often does that dip happen? The dip, yeah, about 3.3 times a year. About 3.3 times a year. We already had one. Nobody probably most people didn't know it, but we had one already this year, 2021. So 2 more to go. All right. How about a correction? That's where the stock market, the S&P 500, let's say, drops 10% or more in a 12-month period of time. Wherever that 12-month period of time happens about 1.1 times a year. Way to go, Kim. That's right. She's on it, man. All right. Hey, well, here's what we call a bear market. Look at that. The gray bar. It's gray, and that is what a drop of 20% or more in a 12-month period of time. 20% or more happens. It happens, right? Is it a big deal? It happens. How often does it happen? About once every 3 years. Yeah, Ken's on it, man. Pedro didn't even get that one. Oh, there he is. All right. Next slide. Oh, man, we're getting to it. All right, bottom line. This slide is the worst slide ever. It says trends can be up, even with higher taxes. Listen, this is not a political advertisement for anybody's political ideas about government money or taxpayer money. No, it's simply to say trends can be up even if taxes go higher. Are they going to be up? Let me just say this: taxes always result. Higher taxes result in a slower economy. That's just the way it works, right? We get it. But even though taxes may be going up, right? We shouldn't fear that. Trends still can be up, and they probably will. All right, just want to say that. But they'll just slow it down a little bit. Next slide, last one. Thank God. This is the worst. This is the worst slide of all. Who really wants to try to take the time to interpret that? What it wants to say here is, number one, the economic rebound remains on track, forming a sturdy foundation. I'm reading verbatim. Number two, the path ahead for stock market may be a bit more winding. And number three, that's why you and I must align our investing. Here's what I've added in. You must always align your investing, you can take anything away from this, to 3 things: your risk tolerance, your life stage and when to expect to start distributions, and your goal for that money. Those 3 things are what I spend almost all my time with clients. Right there. And that's the meat of where your accounts have to be focused on right there. So I gave you a little gift on your table. I probably went over my time, sorry, but I gave you a little gift on your table. It's called Risk Tolerance Questionnaire. You know, by yourself, it's not very fun to go through that, but my clients and I really have a lot of fun with that. So if you want some help understanding what your own risk tolerance is and how to interpret that, really what this does not determine is how much you know about stocks and bonds and mutual funds and things. It doesn't determine that. What it determines is how you feel about it. How you're going to react when things out of your control happen, right? We get it. Hey, I always say, if it wasn't for inflation, I wouldn't have a job. And so the fact that long term, you need your money to grow because the cost of everything's growing. So 20 years from now, if you need your money to be relevant, you need to invest, right? That's what inflation does. So I look forward to any questions you have, and don't even feel shy. Don't feel like you're taking up my time. I really enjoy this. It's a lot of fun. So this is a great event. Good job for showing up today, and it's only going to get better.
Thank you so much for that very enlightening and slightly troubling presentation. It's a great way to start Friday. No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It is now time for us to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Andrew Ballard. Andrew is the president of Marketing Solutions, a Snohomish County agency that develops research-based growth strategies. He has over 3 decades experience with specialties in marketing research, strategic planning, brand development, and advertising. Andrew has helped hundreds of organizations from startups through Fortune 500 companies achieve breakthrough growth. He is also a respected author, educator, keynote, and TED Talk speaker. His articles on marketing strategy have been published in business journals through all 50 states. His book, entitled Your Opinion Doesn't Matter, has been endorsed in both corporate and academic circles as being innovative and insightful. Andrew is also a part-time faculty member at the University of Washington. Please help me welcome Andrew to the stage.
This is better. Great. It is so awesome to be invited back. This, I think, is the fourth time I've had the pleasure of speaking to your group. And as a local, it's fun. It's great when I don't have to get on a plane to do a keynote. So, as the introduction said, Chief Growth Strategist, that's kind of, that's my business title. We started 24 years ago, and 24 years ago, my title was business consultant, until I received an email from a client of mine that gave me a very different perspective. And in that email, and this happened 2 years into our practice, in that email is a story about a shepherd tending a vast flock of sheep alongside a country road. And a brand new Lexus SUV comes screeching to a halt right next to the shepherd. A young man steps out of this brand new Lexus SUV, and this kid is put together. He's got an Armani suit, right, patent leather Italian shoes, Gucci sunglasses, a Cartier watch. He saunters up to the shepherd and says, "Hey, if I can guess exactly how many sheep you have, can I have one?" And the shepherd looks out at literally thousands of sheep, turns back to the young man and says, "All right." So this kid goes back to his brand new Lexus SUV, pulls out a razor-thin laptop, as well as a satellite uplink. He logs on to the GPS system of the NASA website, pulls down 60 spreadsheets filled with algorithms. A few minutes later, he's outputting a 150-page report. As he flips through to the last page, he walks up to the shepherd and says, "You have exactly 1,531 sheep." And the shepherd says, "Well, you're right. Take your prize." So this young guy goes out in the middle of the flock, grabs the biggest animal he can find, and as he's stuffing it in the back of his brand new Lexus SUV, the shepherd approaches him and says, "Young man, if I can guess your occupation, will you pay me back in kind?" And the kid goes, "Yeah, I've got nothing to lose, sure." And the shepherd says, "You're a consultant." And then the kid is just dejected, and he says, "You're right, how did you know?" The shepherd says, "Well, first, you came without being called. Second, you just charged me a fee to tell me something I already knew. Third, it's clear you know nothing about my business, and I would really like to have my dog back." And so, no, this happened 2 years into my practice, and I realized at that moment, if that's the way my target market viewed consultants, that I needed to reposition myself. And I've been a growth strategist ever since, and we're in our 24th year, so something must be working out pretty well. So today we're going to talk about scenario planning, and that might not sound really exciting, but scenario planning is a great approach to growing your business. So I'm going to use this strictly in a business context. This is one of my favorite quotes. Abraham Lincoln, I'm sure many of you have seen it before, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." So that's a bit about what we're trying to do with scenario planning. So the first question I get is scenario planning even that important? And I always say, you've got two choices. One, you can pull back and just pray things will get better. Or you can be proactive and you can lean forward with purpose, like strategically lean forward. So the premise of strategic planning is that if you're aware of what could happen, you're going to be far better prepared to deal with what will happen. And so that's kind of the intro. I do want to distinguish, though, between strategic planning and scenario planning. Has anybody done scenario planning before? I know we've all done strategic planning. Anybody done scenario planning? It's part of the strategic planning family, and very few businesses, especially small businesses, engage in it. But the reason it's important and why it should matter to you is this 5-stage process isn't only good about predicting futures and gaining solutions to what's happening to you, but it's also a great tool to use when you have an opportunity you want to seize. So it isn't always about a crisis. Right now it's kind of in the context of the pandemic that we're living in. It's also a great tool to pivot, right? We've heard a lot about business pivots. The same tool applies. So whether you're in crisis, whether you have an opportunity that you want to seize, or whether you're actually considering a business pivot, whether it's a new strategy or a new business model that works both ways. So here are some of the distinctions. Strategic planning is fairly routine. We're doing it every 1 to 3 years. Scenario planning is based on kind of an extraordinary circumstance. And it's situation-based, right? Strategic planning, usually you start out with a vision in mind and you plan to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to be. But with scenario planning, you end up with a new vision. So that's a difference. Also, with strategic planning, our metrics, what we measure, our KPIs, they're already in place, right? But not with strategic planning, new metrics will emerge. Again, whether you're dealing with a crisis, an opportunity, or considering a pivot. Solid data with known conditions, that's strategic planning, okay? We've had solid conditions since 2012, when we were really kind of said, okay, the Great Recession is over for most of us. But in the scenario planning, we have a lack of data. There's no one in the room, including our Edward Jones sponsor, that can predict what's going to happen next month, let alone next year, right? Did anybody read the paper, the Herald, yesterday? Like King County, Snohomish County, likely to go back to phase 2. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I'm not going to predict the future. But it could happen, and we need to prepare for it, and that's the context that I'm sharing today. So usually with strategic planning, you're trying to accelerate growth, and you're looking at opportunities that you can seize. You're dealing with opportunities. Scenario planning, you're dealing with risk most of the time in this pandemic context. Really, it's based on what you want to seize, and for scenario planning, it's based on what you want to overcome. Is anybody in hospitality in this room? A couple. Well, I mean, it's been really brutal, especially for hospitality, tourism, just really tough. And phase 3 are going to be phase 2. Like, you just have to keep changing the game. With strategic planning, the focus is on growth. In most cases, scenario planning in the context of the pandemic is more about survival than growth. So those are some key differences. Here are the 5 stages that I'm going to do in my 30 minutes total. By the way, I've had 4 cups of coffee. I'll probably do this in 17. First stage is defining the focal issue. What is it that we're dealing with? Second stage is identifying the driving forces, the external conditions that have an impact on our business. The third stage is to determine the critical uncertainties, which will populate your scenario matrix, which I will present. By the way, at the end of this, I put a stack of business cards on that end table over there. I also have a QR code. I would love to give you this PowerPoint. If you'd like to have it, just email me, I'll send it, no strings attached. The QR code will take you to the contact of the website. If you don't want to do the contact form, just take the card. My email will be on the last slide. So I'd love to give this to you because I don't expect everybody stuffing fruit in their face to take notes. By the way, Ken, great breakfast, always, every time I'm here. It is so good to be live with real people. So no, really. We're all feeling it, right? It's your first event in 14 months. This is my first live seminar in 14 months. I've done 20 Zoom seminars since then, and it's so nice to see human beings rather than little thumbnails. So, I'm just so grateful. Stage 4, develop plausible scenarios. And then the last stage is developing strategic responses to what will be the most likely scenarios. And so I'm going to unpack each of these 5 stages. And again, please ask for the PowerPoint. I want you to get value out of our time today. So, defining the focal issue. I'm going to kind of share what it is, then I'm going to show you how to do it, right? It's not just the what, it's the how. So, focal issue. You want to document the question, the problem, or the issue that you are dealing with and what needs to be addressed, right? And then after that, you want to simply frame a very short statement that includes a time frame, right? All planning needs to have a time horizon. If your plan doesn't have any due dates, nothing will get done, right? The task expands to the time allowed. If you force yourself into a timeline, it's amazing how much more you can execute. I mean, that's just business 101, right? So it's a very, very simple process, and we've led dozens and dozens of companies, and our focus, our primary target is small and big and small business. Most of our clients are under 50 million. So anyway, I see a lot of people trying to overcomplicate this. When we work with clients, it takes us less than 5 minutes to do this. And it's usually less than 20 words. You're just doing one sentence, just a really clean statement. Here's an example of a 14-word focal point statement. Really straightforward. And by the way, this is one from a client we actually did 6 months ago. Or maybe a little less than that. But the point is, 2020, the pandemic cut our revenues by 75%. So, we don't know what impact the pandemic will have in 2021. So the scenario planning for the context of this, and yes, it is a restaurant, actually it was a restaurant chain, is how do we game solutions and prepare for an unknown future, right? So, second driving force, or the second stage rather, identifying the driving forces that have an impact on your business. So first of all, you want to bring your team together. We usually do a retreat style, and if you're a solo, single owner, operator, find a mirror so you can point at yourself. It kind of keeps you going. But the idea is that you need to brainstorm a list of the external conditions that could have an impact on your business, right? That's the point. These are internal conditions that are beyond your control. Has anybody done a SWOT analysis? I know Ken has. He could probably write a book on it. SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The O&T, opportunities and threats, those are external conditions you have no control over. But you want to be prepared to respond, right? Because that'll make you money. So the tool that we use when we're working with clients is called the Pest Analysis. Very common external environmental scan, been around for a long time. And it stands for political, economic, social, and technological. When we say political, we're saying big P. Local, state, federal, administrative, legislative, adjudicative, regulative, anything that can actually have an impact. And there's a lot going on in Olympia. The session just closed. Inslee may bring them back again. There's some things that happen that may help you. From the reading I've done, there's plenty in there that could hurt you as well. Anyway, so economic conditions, it's bigger than the economy. And what are the conditions at play? Our Edward Jones guy, where is he?
Right here.
Right here. Is your name Lance?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Lance was talking about the Fed and controlling interest rates. Okay, that all falls underneath that. Now it's about money management, managing the supply of money. Social, cultural changes in the environment. Okay, in the last 15 months, we have changed as a society like crazy, not just because of the pandemic, but because of social justice and all of these factors that are going on and we're trying to deal with as a society. And by the way, a lot of them need to happen. And this is not a political commentary. Technological, emerging technologies that can help or hurt you. If it can help you, it's an opportunity. If it can hurt you, it's a threat. So you also, beyond the pest analysis, want to include consumers and competitors, right? If it's affecting you, it's affecting the people you serve, and it's affecting your competitors. So, have those two markets in mind when you're doing your scenario planning. So, this is the primer for doing that. You want to conduct traditional brainstorming, and I've done brainstorming with over 500 companies in our 24 years, and I can tell you that 95% of everyone I work with does it wrong. Brainstorm. Well, here's an idea. Let's talk about it. That's not brainstorming. Brainstorming is get as many ideas as you can so you know it. She's nodding her head, of course. You should be able to get 15, 20 things on paper in less than 10 minutes. If it takes longer than 10 minutes, you're not brainstorming. You're talking. No judgment, no ideas are bad, right? So if Lance says ABC, and 3 minutes later, Ken says ABC, then my buddy in the back, Aaron, can say, well, Ken, Lance already said ABC. Why? It's judgment. I mean, that's how anal retentive I am about brainstorming. Anal retentive, those of you that know me, I've had the pleasure of knowing Ken for many, many years, serving on boards together. I really am anal retentive. There's pros and cons to that. My wife tells me that she is convinced I was potty trained at gunpoint. She and my mom never got along. Anyway, so rapid pace. Maybe it takes a while to catch up. I know. It's a disgusting joke, frankly. Anyway, the fact is that you want to select a facilitator or some leader to keep you on track, right? As soon as Ken says something and it goes off, you say, nope, we're not doing that. That'll be stage 3. It's not stage 2. Keep it on track, keep it moving. So the technique that we use is called a headlines exercise. And using headlines is the best and fastest way to do brainstorming, because the typical headline is between 4 and 7 words. So, before COVID, we used to do brainstorming on flip charts. It has to fit on one line, one bullet, okay? So use the headlines technique. You want to limit this entire process to 15 minutes and keep your list about 15 to 20. Don't go longer than that, because, the law of diminishing returns, you're really not, generating any better ideas. To do 10, it usually takes me about 4 minutes when I'm facilitating. But you can tell I'm kind of wired and I make things happen fairly quickly. Again, there's pros and cons to that. So, essentially, that's how we do it. Headlines, traditional brainstorming. Step 3, I'm doing really good on time. Somebody said, can you actually do your 90-minute presentation in 30 minutes? And I said, I can. Remember, I'm anal retentive about time. Stage 3, determine the critical uncertainties. So basically, you narrow down that brainstorm list to the top 2, which would generate the greatest potential impact, good and bad. There are positive and negative outcomes in anything that you look at. So this is when you start discussing and judging, right? You're judging the merits of each idea. Not all of them are going to remain on the list, but that's okay. So here's the primer. The process to narrowing down the prioritized brainstorm list, and we've used this and it works really well. First, you want to delete or combine duplicate or similar concepts, right? Because you're going to prioritize, and whether you do votes or sticky dots or whatever, you don't want to spread your votes across, similar ideas. Next, you're going to delete the ideas that really aren't relevant. And the filter that I use when I'm working with clients is, does this brainstormed idea, will it actually have a significant impact on our business? If the answer is, I'm not sure or no, get rid of it. It's got to be a definite yes to stay on your list. Next, you want to prioritize that shorter list to narrow down your 15 to 20 brainstormed ideas to the top 2 critical uncertainties, okay? And you can do that with sticky dots, however you want to vote. We've been doing a lot of these plans virtually, and so we, can do voting on spreadsheets. We can remote just about anything in planning. And you should limit this stage. Again, it's not rocket science. Limit it to 30 minutes. You really should time all this, because if your brainstorming goes past 15, you're not brainstorming. If you can't narrow down the list of 15 in 30 minutes, including discussing the merits of each idea, then somebody in your group is like me, far too verbose. Get through it. The facilitator should keep things moving. Okay, number 4, and as the stage number gets higher, so does the level of difficulty. So I'm going to spend more time on stage 4 and stage 5. And again, please take me up on getting the slide deck, because essentially it will be your blueprint for doing this. Or you can hire me to do it, but I want to give this to you. Start off on your own. But the idea is you're going to use a scenario planning matrix, and I'll show you the quadrant matrix in a while. In fact, I'll end the presentation by actually populating a matrix with a real life situation. But what we're doing is we're taking those top 2 critical uncertainties, and they're going to be on the vertical Y and the horizontal X axes of your matrix or your spreadsheet, however you're doing this. We do everything in spreadsheets. Each quadrant, based on those two critical uncertainties, will have different outcomes that will help you make assumptions about the likely futures. This is when it gets really exciting. You start to populate this thing and say, oh, so this is probably going to happen. And then you can start planning for that inevitability before it happens, right? I mean, yesterday in the paper, we're past the metrics. And frankly, I think some of the metrics we use are just nuts. But, you know, it is what it is. Some of them are absolutely relevant, but I don't know. I have friends that have been vaccinated and they got COVID again, so we know that that can happen. But they're counting the same data that closes people down as opposed to someone who's not vaccinated. How does that make sense? I don't know. It's people smarter than me are trying to figure that out. So the quadrants, based on your critical uncertainties, will really help you see, potential futures. And so this is what it looks like. Here's the matrix. It's a traditional 4-quadrant matrix, right? You've got critical uncertainty number 1 horizontally, X. Critical uncertainty number 2, Y. And you've got on the right side of your matrix are all positive outcomes, and the top row are all positive. Left side negative, bottom row negative, right? These type of quadrant matrices are very common in lots of business tools. So this might be familiar to some of you. So the point is scenario 1 is the best case scenario when you've got positive outcomes on both uncertainties, right? And the worst case scenario, I haven't been able to use a pointer, 15 months. Yeah. So that's the best case scenario. This is the worst case scenario where both uncertainties look negative. And then this is what's more likely in the middle. Negative, positive, positive, negative. So I'm going to come back to this and I'm going to populate it and show you a completed scenario plan is what this looks like. So here is stage 5. This is where we're going to put it all together. So based on the 4 most likely scenarios that you populated in stage 4, essentially what you're going to do is develop the strategic responses that you're going to have in advance of meeting them. That's the whole point, is to prepare for the likely future before it gets here. So when it happens, you can act immediately. It'll give you a competitive advantage. You'll be able to deliver a better experience to your customers and prospects, and that's kind of the point. You have to do both those things to grow a business, right? You have to have a competitive advantage, and you have to delight your target market. Those 2 things are the formula for growth. Now, there's lots of tactical approaches to get there, but I'm going to stick with our strategic responses. So I want you to think about worst case, best case, most likely. I kind of showed you that on the original diagram. So what does this look like? One thing that's very important to understand about scenario planning, and it's very true with this pandemic. I'm going to come abuse this side of the room for a while. Yeah. Aaron says I have to stay within a certain confine to stay within the camera view, right? Somebody said I did a TED Talk. It was about 5 years ago. And they give you this 6-foot red dot you have to stand in because of the cameras and the lights. And you've got a big auditorium and it's streaming to hundreds of thousands of folks, right? And as you can see, I'm a wanderer. And while I had, the audio attached to my head, like all TED Talks do, I was walking way off of the dot. I cannot tell you how many technicians I pissed off that day. But anyway, it happens. I'm a wanderer. So the idea being here is that you could actually flip between different scenarios. I think we've seen that happen with the pandemic. So you really need to, hence the phases, right? But once you determine the most likely scenario, you want to expand on your strategic response and develop an action plan, right? Action plans only have 3 criteria. Defines who, does what, by when. Don't make it simple. Most of our action plans are 1-pagers. Even a 1-year action plan you can put on 1 page. Don't complicate it, make it simple. Anyway, so, but if you feel like there's going to be more than one scenario that will likely play out, what we usually do is we develop game plans or action plans for all 4 scenarios. So as we go back and forth between different conditions or as things change, we've already gained our solution. The point is that you'll be prepared to take immediate action. I got a little ahead of my bullets, but that's the idea. So, I want to conclude by, I'm actually going to be 2 minutes early. I'm going to conclude by showing you an actual populated matrix. So here's our matrix again, nothing's changed here. Here are the critical uncertainties. Again, this was for a restaurant, and again, 6 months ago, right? That's when we just went into phase 2. So the critical uncertainty is how much longer will phase 2 be extended, right? And if you're a restaurant, that matters, because that determines whether you can do 25%, 50%, or 0%, right? And then the second was, on our y-axis, the consumers being concerned about doing inside dining. It's a legitimate concern. Anyway, so this is what it looks like. This is an actual scenario plan. So the top best case scenario, there's no concern about in-house dining, and we move to phase 3, right? So if we don't go backwards on Monday to phase 2, hopefully we will, in 3 months or less, move to phase 4. And then you've got the worst case scenario where there is a heightened concern among consumers to do inside dining, and the phase got extended or we went backwards. Worst case scenario. And then of course you've got the second scenario, no concerns about inside dining, but the phase is going to be extended. And then we've got concern about dining, but we're moving to phase 3. And so here are the strategic responses. To the best case scenario, strategic response to the positive. Okay, in this case, the action plan said, hey, we're staffing up. We're going to, complete our inventory or whatever it is we need to do to go full tilt boogie, right? In scenario 2, where we have a positive in terms of, hey, I'm happy to go dining, but a negative in terms of the phase 2 is going to be extended. And so with something like that, you would try, the action plan here was to expand the seating, not only the way they rearrange the floor plan inside, but also adding, the next, the scenario 3 is where they added more outside dining, right? And so if it's a worst case scenario where there is a concern, we don't want to go indoors, and the phase is going to be extended or roll backwards, this is when you get really creative, right? And we've seen a lot of businesses in hospitality, especially restaurants, pivot their models, right, to delivery and curbside and that kind of a thing. And I'm going to show you an example of what a great pivot is here. There is a company, so I'll explain this in a second. So I am doing a 2-day retreat in Chicago next week. Now it's going to be Zoom. I'm not going to leave my bathrobe, but we're doing this thing for 2 days. And it's remote. And what the company did to bring the board of directors, this is a trade group, they did is they went through a company called Snack Magic, and they gave everybody a $100 budget, and you go get the $100 worth of stuff that you want. And then mine just got delivered yesterday. And this is my package. You see it's a combination of food and teas and drinks and things like that. But there's also things you can see, which are some other fun stuff like glow lights for making your Zoom look better and things like that. But you're given $100, and so it's kind of fun. But my point isn't just that my client is smart. My point is that this company only took 2 months to build, and they launched last July in response to what's going on. So this isn't a pivot. This is the emergence of a brand new category. So that's innovation. And the reason I'm fixating on innovation is what separates you from the rest of the marketplace. Scenario planning helps you innovate before you need to. That's my commercial. So that is my time. I'm exactly 2 minutes early. I've been told that we've got about 10 minutes for Q&A. So there's the email address. My cards are stacked over there. And if your smartphone hits that QR code, you'll go right to our contact page on the website. However you want to get there, I just want to give this deck to you. But I will entertain some time to do Q&A. And by the way, I'm a business professor at the School of Business at the University of Washington. You are not limited to asking questions about scenario planning. I can give you butchered answer on any topic. Your question won't be stupid. My answer may be ridiculous, but let's give it a try. Yes, sir, Lance. Okay, great, thanks. Ken, you're next.
So just quickly though, strategic planning, like we're all familiar with,
Yes.
is more proactive. And if I'm understanding right, scenario planning really gives me a way to be reactive.
You know, that's a really good analogy. However, scenario planning, if you're doing it before you experience that uncertain future, is being proactive. So I would put, a really good observation, Lance, though, I would put them both in the proactive category. The better distinction in the context of the pandemic is one is, you know, we're not in crisis, we're going to grow. And in the pandemic, especially for industries like hospitality, and Ken, back me up, I mean, it's been pretty ugly, right? So the idea is that we're trying to survive this, right? So that's really the difference, is that we're being proactive in scenario planning because we're trying to predict the future based on this 5-step process, and then have a strategic response and a game plan for when it happens. Great question. Thanks for kicking us off. It's always good to have that first person be brave and take a deal. I see a lot of phones. I know it's not about me. I hope
No,
that...
we did the QR code. We just had to get on the hotel thing to get the...
Oh, gotcha.
To get it, yeah, so...
Hi, Lance.
So who do you, I mean, what's a case where in the local Marysville area, a business or a group of employees, how would they utilize you? What would that look like, or generally in a small business?
Well, I'll give you your $20 after the deal. That was a great setup. I really like this guy. I really do. So, as I said, we have helped clients, and we've generated a lot of new clients during the pandemic, deal with scenario planning because, you know, I took my 90 minutes down to 28, but the fact is, it's easier to understand than to implement. So the way we apply it, Lance, is different for every industry and every business situation. So I can have 2 restaurants, and they can have 2 very different business situations. Restaurant A may have ample parking lot that they can extend outdoors, and Restaurant B, you know, is in a very tight mall-type environment on the outside, and they are not allowed to touch parking. So we go through the same 5 stages, but we apply them differently based on the unique circumstance of the client, and that's industry-driven. It's also driven by product life cycle, right? Every product or service has a life cycle, and that's what drives a lot of pivots also. So essentially, Lance, we run them through the same 5 stages. It typically takes 1 to 2 weeks. We actually did this for a department of Boeing before the pandemic. So it's scalable. I've done it for Boeing. I've done it for the Global Securities Division of Microsoft. I know I do small business, but we've done lots of Fortune 500 stuff too. You won't see the Fortune 500 of our clients on our website because our goal really, most of our clients are between 500,000, you know, small, up to 10 million. So I say under 50 million, 75% of our clients are under 10. But you know, every once in a while we get a call from a larger company. But it's really, the stages don't change, but the circumstances do. There's actually 5 dynamics that separate every business. I'll just do this really quickly. You could have 2 community banks, same size, both in Marysville, but they will not have the same situation, these 5 dynamics. Dynamic 1, your current business situation, what's going on. Dynamic 2, your objective, what is it you're trying to achieve? What does your vision for success look like? The next, number 3, is your target market. You know, each different market segment has different wants, needs, desires, pain points, etc. Condition number 4 is your competitive landscape. Condition number 5 is your budget, right? If I've got a Boeing budget, I'm not worried about scaling it to meet, but I've done this for a company under $1 million, and we had a very tight budget. In fact, we did their entire process in 2.5 days because we had a budget to work with. So those are the 5 dynamics that drive everything that we do, whether it's scenario planning or in better times, you know, accelerating revenue generation, because that's our mission statement. Research-based growth strategies that accelerate revenue generation. I like you. Somebody else, any other, I think we only got a couple minutes left. Who's the timekeeper here? Are we good on time? One more question. One more question. Thank you. That's what I was looking for. Somebody give me something really hard. Try to pin me against the wall. Yes.
What do you do for fun?
What do I do for fun? Smartest person in the room. No, I'm serious. I aspire to think at your level. I do a couple different things. On my own, I golf. I love golfing. I suck at it, but I love doing it. I was a member of the Mill Creek Country Club for years and years and years, and not anymore, and why it makes no difference, but I love to golf. Somebody says, are you a golfer? I say no, but I golf. The second thing that I love to do is, my wife and I, by the way, have our 29th wedding anniversary this Sunday. Oh, thank you. You should be clapping for her, not for me. She's an amazing human being that puts up with a bunch of crap. But the point is that we love to travel and we love good food and wine. Before the pandemic, we belonged to, I don't know, a half a dozen wine clubs. Now I think we're down to 5. But wine, good food, travel. Of course, we haven't traveled much, but we redesigned our whole backyard to be our outdoor oasis. Thanks for asking the question, and thank you all for tolerating me and inviting me back. It was really a pleasure. I wish you all the best. And let's stay in phase 3, huh?
We have one more round of applause for Andrew Ballard. That much energy, and whether or not you really had 4 cups of coffee, I just think you had a really good night's sleep. So good for you. It is now time for us to introduce Todd Feldman. I hope I'm saying that right, Feldman. Okay, who will be our networking MC? Please join us, and a round of applause.
Wow, is it great to be here or what?
Yeah.
Yes. That is. Come on. Does anyone know what kind of day it is?
Friday.
Yes. But that means nothing for a realtor.
No,
Okay?
we're an escalator.
Yes, well, welcome. This is so great to be back here live with everybody, seeing some familiar faces and some new faces here. Thank you so much for Tulalip Casino for providing this wonderful opportunity for us to gather on this great Friday. It's been so long, but it just seems like it was just a couple of months ago. It's so comfortable to be in a room filled with other business owners and associates. It's really great. So we gathered here today, and we've heard some great speakers and some, less excuses, more action. I love that, And with Lance, I agree. Everything what you said, those slides were horrible. No. But we all need that useful. You said it. You said that, right? And I agree. No, it was really, really useful information. And so we get so much out of these meetings. At least I know I do. And reconnecting with everybody is just super, super special. But we came here for another purpose as well. Let's get to know each other. So at this time during the program, we're going to take a little bit of time to get to know one another around the table networking. So this gives us about a 60-second opportunity to get to know one another. And I'm going to be using this bell, and I have a little timer. And so after 60 seconds, I'm going to ring the bell, and that will give the person next to you a chance to introduce themselves, tell them a little bit of what you do, why you love what you do, and will probably be your best favorite referral customer. And so we'll begin, and the person who will start will be the person to the closest to the stage. And they'll take the first 60 seconds. They're going to share the information of who they are, what they do, and what would be their greatest referral. And if you're sitting solo, perhaps you want to jump to another table to help that process along, or you're just going to talk to yourself. And that might be okay as well. So we'll go ahead and begin. I'm going to get the timer started, and here we go. Okay, we are moving on with the program. great day it is. I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsor today, Edward Jones, located here in Marysville. I'd also like to give another thank you to our guest speaker, Andrew Ballard. That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you for coming back to the presentation, everybody. And this next portion is that we're going to introduce our new members. Yes! That was much better than the first time. Okay. So yeah, we have new members. We're always excited about our new members, our continued growth in the community, our networking. And so if you are here as a representative of one of these businesses, you're welcome to come down here in front. I'm going to announce the names of all of these members, so we should be finished by about 10:30 today. Is that okay for everybody? All right. Thanks for that. So you can leave early if you'd like to, you know. All right. So I'm going to announce all the new businesses. If you are here representing one of these new businesses, you're welcome to come down here in the front. I'm going to come down with this extra microphone here. Please wear your mask. And then you'll have 1 minute to introduce your business, yourself, to the group. So, our new members, Kendall Ford of Marysville, Dickey's Barbecue Pit, Washington Trust Bank, La Quinta Inn and Suites, Larry's Plumbing, Hidden Vine Bistro, Blanca's Skincare and Lashes, Alexander Printing Company, Cedar Point Senior Community, Jay's Flooring, the Ashley Wellness Center, Maddock, and Chicken Filet of Marysville, yum, and Studio Celine, yes, new members.
And Larry's Plumbing.
And Larry's Plumbing, yeah, it was right after La Quinta. So another plug for Larry's. Okay, anyone here? I know what they're doing. They're out busy. They're so busy right now doing their businesses. Well, come on up. Don't be shy. Not in this group. Please introduce the company, who you are, and a little bit about what you do.
Hi, my name is Kathy Milligan. I'm the showroom manager for Larry's Plumbing. We have our beautiful showroom and parts department right on 1624 Grove Street. We originally started out as a service company in 2006 called Protocol Plumbing. And we decided to purchase Larry's Plumbing, which is a supply house that has a bunch of unique, original, and hard-to-find parts. A couple of years ago, we decided we would like to expand. So we have moved up to Marysville, and we've opened up a brand new showroom where we have plenty of different items, still your hard-to-find parts, but our showroom is now functioning so people can come in, see how faucets work, see how toilets flush. We have a huge shower with multiple options, so you can see rain heads, shower heads, hand showers. And so it's just really a great experience to be able to have people come on in and see how things function and touch everything and really explain how things work. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Kathy. I've been to that showroom. That showroom absolutely freaking rocks. And the systems do work in there. Seriously, you can test this stuff. They have this whole thing plumbed. And one of our faucets was broken. And so my wife, Rochelle, researched this thing on YouTube, and she says, we need this part. I'm like, what is this thing all about? And I'm like, oh, Larry's Plumbing. I went in there, and I showed him, I go, what is this? He goes, oh, I know what this is. Went right back, and he goes, this is what you need. And she put it in, and Rochelle fixed the plumbing. It was great. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Okay, I was pretty busy chilling in the house, I don't know. And Rochelle's fixing them. So, what a great team. So thank you, Larry's Plumbing, for being here, and thank you so much for our other new businesses that have joined. Now, this part of the program, we like to give shout-outs and kudos from member to member. And if you have a special shout-out to a member, such I just did with Kathy and Larry's Plumbing, if you have something special and something you want to announce about another member here at the Chamber, please come forward right up here, and you'll have a chance to put another business card into some wonderful gifts that we have in our raffle today. So some shout-outs and some kudos from member to member.
Todd, did we have Studio Saline here? Oh, it's one of the reps from Studio Saline. Oh, yes. Okay.
Shout outs. Yes.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Todd Fallman with the report in Marysville.
I'm going to hold the mic.
I just wanted to share something. I wanted to just share something about him and his group and his amazing agents. If you want positivity, if you want action, if you want your home sold, bought, these guys are very creative. And it's a blessing as an escrow company to be able to work with them and assist other agents. So shout out to Todd for bringing it to Marysville. We appreciate you and your real estate industry and experience.
Well, you've got a lot of guys in this.
I would like to give a shout out to a very new member who is not here today, but it is the Ashley Wellness Center in Marysville. Has anyone been to the Ashley Wellness Center? Okay, well they do excellent massages. It is a locally owned, family-owned business. And when everything opened, they did everything they could to make sure services could be opened safely for all of their guests and patients. They take a great level of care for everybody and individual body needs. So if you have not had a chance to visit the Ashley Wellness Center, I highly recommend it.
I'm going there right after this because I'm really tense after this. I'm really sorry. Yes.
We do have representatives of Studio Saline. They would like to give their 1 minute contract.
Studio Celine, you got to come up here. We all want to see you. So introduce yourself and a little bit about your business.
I'm David. This is Lauren. I am from Studio Salem. Forgive me, I'm not a public speaker. We're a small family business. Makes just a bunch of custom everything, basically, from jewelry to Bath and Body Works to furniture. Basically, if you can picture it, we can make it.
Where are you located?
So we're just online currently, so we work out of our home, down off Grove.
StudioSalem.com. We actually closed down our brick and mortar that we were involved with a week before COVID hit. So we moved everything, and then we slept for a week because we moved everything. Woke up and we were in the pandemic, so we kind of pivoted, and now we're reworking things and making everything in-house and kind of optimistically thinking about a new brick and mortar in the area. So we are about to head to farmers markets starting next weekend, so you can find us at Ballard, Marysville, and Arlington for the whole season. But it's really been exciting and a very blessed opportunity.
Yes, I would highly encourage you. I visited their website, and they have some incredible handcrafted jewelry and some art that will just absolutely blow you away. And it's really great. They're here locally. And wonderful gifts for all seasons. And if you have something specialty that you want made and you can craft that together. So, you know, we got Mother's Day coming up. Yeah, I know. Okay, we're excited about it. Okay, you guys. There's probably a lot of mothers there. So think about that. We have those holidays coming up, and this would be a great place to shop. Thank you so much, you guys.
What's the website?
We'll be in Arlington on next Saturday, and on Mother's Day we'll be at Marysville Farmers.
Yes, Lance?
What's the website?
StudioSalem.com.
StudioSalem.com. Saline.
S-T-L-Y.
You say it.
Studio Salem.
Saline. I like it. They say it so much better than I do. Sorry about that. Yeah, visit that website. You can also find that website by going to thechamber.com, Greater Marysville Tulalip Chamber.com, and finding the website located there. Thank you so much. I should practice and rehearse those pronunciations. I apologize about that. So how about some gifts? How about some I'm having a mask malfunction up here, everybody, okay? So let me ask you this. Who feels like they want to win something today? Okay, that's everybody, okay, except for one person, and I didn't hear that. So anyways, we're all winners. So we're going to have a prize drawn here. So if you brought a gift and you'd like to raffle a gift, would you please come up here on the stage with me? Somebody brought a raffle gift? Yes? No? Okay, I brought one too, but I don't want to go first. Okay? Could you please come forward? Your name, the business you represent, a little bit about your business, and then I will reach into the basket of COVID and pull the winner.
Okay. Michelle Hernandez with the Hegel Cultural Center and Natural History Preserve in Tulalip. And what I have is 4 admission passes. One is actually in there though. So if you want to win it, give me a shout. Woo! Yes, history and culture. And Paul Armstrong, you get to go to the Hegel Cultural Center. Yay! Want me to hold the seat?
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Todd Fallman, Realty One Group Orca, and as you probably know, it's a really hot market for buyers and sellers, right? Okay. It is a super hot market for buyers and sellers, which is why we're giving away $25 for Cold Stone so you can go and chill out outside the market for a little bit and then get back into that hot market, okay? So $25 of Cold Stone to get you out of that hot market. Who do we have as a winner?
Ann Mallard.
Ann Mallard! Did you know that this comes with a free home? You still want it now? Okay, never mind. No, do another one?
Yeah, I just did it.
Okay, she's just making me run
And the
around.
neutrality.
Yes, the neutrality.
Hey, Todd, can we give a kudos to Ann and Dave at the chamber office for keeping everything rolling?
Come on, Jim. Who just won?
Kim Thompson.
Kim Thompson! It was good to have. I know. Get up here, Kim.
So what I was just saying was I wanted to give a kudos to Dave and to Ann in the chamber office because, you know, as we're going through this transition with our new president director of it, they have really kept things going. So thank you for doing such a great job. It's great to see all the new members that have been added. It's wonderful to be back in person. And I know you guys are working hard behind the scenes, so thank you so much. Love the new Marysville Marketplace too. So many great things going on in our community. Make sure you check out the site. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, that concludes my portion of this. I'll turn it back over to Michelle.
Todd, do we have any special announcements for members that they have things going on that they want to make announcements about?
Oh, yes, we do. We do have some special announcements. If you have an event that you'd like to make an announcement for, or you know of an event that you would like to make an announcement for, please come forward and we'll share that information right now. Thank you.
Good morning. I just retired, and so consequently I'm a volunteer treasurer of 3 organizations. So if anybody is bored and they're like, you just get a hold of me and I can find you something to do. The Marysville Morning Rotary is working with the city to do a citywide shred-a-thon on May 8th at City Hall, which is a very fun thing. And you're always invited to come enjoy a breakfast with us at Terry's downtown. May 8th, yeah. And then tonight is the Noon Club, Rotary Club's auction, and it's being held virtually up at the golf course. So anyone who has no plans tonight, they might want to drop in and visit, which would be wonderful. And my first love, my favorite nonprofit group that I volunteer for is the Marysville Community Food Bank. And I've been treasurer since 2004, and I'll die being their treasurer. There's not a better group in the whole world that don't work so very, very hard. And because of COVID-19, in 1 week, the need jumped up 70%. And our director, Dale Dearling, is so sharp. He figured out a way to handle all of it, how to reconstruct it, how to entice and spoil our volunteers. It's just absolutely amazing. So we have had, on average, a running balance of $600,000 to be used to cover all the need in Marysville. And the only thing additionally that we need from our community is help, especially elderly, to get over their pride. It was very difficult to convince a lot of people that had lost their jobs that there's no shame coming to our food bank, and it's so supportive. There is enough to carry our community plus another community. So spread that word. And if you've never enjoyed volunteering before, you should come and visit. It is so fun. There's not a better group of wonderful, hardworking people, and they're a fun group. You'll catch them singing, fighting over which radio station, throwing apples or potatoes. No, our director also worked out a depot in the old Hagen's building in Arlington. So when farmers, we never waste anything. And so anything that doesn't get used goes to our pig farmers at a very minimum. And so consequently, farmers will do things like stop off with 10,000 pounds of potatoes. So that's when we call the high school and find out which team would like to earn a little bit of side money. And we have the kids come in, buy a pizza, turn on their favorite radio station, and we get them to help us bag all those fresh vegetables. So anyway, it's a wonderful group, and I'm really thankful to be a part of it. And thanks to everyone here. All these faces, I know you've helped in one way or 50 ways with our food bank. So thanks so much.
Wonderful, thank you. There's an event Thursday, May 20th. Okay, Thirsty Thursday, Realty One Group Orca, from 4:30 to 6:30. It's a happy hour business-to-business networking. Please show up. We have karaoke, we have hors d'oeuvres, we have beer, wine, soda, water. So we have a great time interacting and networking with one another. We do have limited capacity due to the current phase we're in, but we are open. So check that out. May 20th, Thirsty Thursday. Now, did I miss anything, Kim?
No, I think you're good, Todd.
Yes. An announcement. We'll get it here. Come on.
Morning, everyone. My name is Jerry. I am with the BECU Marysville branch, but to my left over here is Nicole. I want to go ahead and hand the mic over to her because she has an event.
Hi, so my name is Nicole. I manage the Smoky Point BECU. For the month of May, we're doing a partnership with the NOAA Center. So for anybody who comes and opens a membership and mentions NOAA Center, we will not only give you $100, but we'll donate $50 to NOAA. So we have a bunch of flyers that you can hand out. They'll be posted on our social media, hopefully within the next week, but we just wanted to share now, give you guys a little head start.
Did I hear free puppies with new accounts? Almost.
Hey Todd, can we just note that Kathy here has some things to give out, so before you leave today at the door, make sure you're here. She has little bags for us.
See Kathy on the way out. She's got some great giveaways.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, plumbing supplies, and ask Rochelle to fix your sink. Okay.
Good morning, I'm Belinda Ritchie. I'm the program manager for Maud's House, which is part of Volunteers of America. It's a women's and children's shelter right here in Marysville on Cedar. We have about 9 families at a time, and VOA is doing a promotion, a Mother's Day promotion, to help support Maud's House. We run on a minimal shoestring budget, and we just lost about half of our budget for the coming year. So they're going to be doing an online campaign to support Maud's House. If you go to voawesternwashington.com, you can see pictures of the families, and some of the stories will be posted of the women who live there and some women who have lived there who we've helped out and who are doing great now.
including one who I hired as my manager. She used to be a resident there, now she's a manager. So thank you, check it out and find it in your heart to support us, we would really appreciate it. Thanks.
Businesses helping businesses in the community, what a beautiful thing. That is great work. Remember to see Kathy, Larry's Plumbing, on your way out. I think I'm done.
Thank you.